Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Anna Carl, and this is a Let's Talk right here on The Division. Today, we're going to talk about the PTS, the public test server, and some of the file dumps that have come up where people have begun data mining the game. And a couple of things that I really want to talk about are ammo capacity, and we're going to get to those. But first off, it was nice to have a day or so without hearing any saltiness or any salty posts about the Division, but once again, things have returned to normal and the salt mines have been reopened from the very bottoms and the bowels of the Division. However, I want to go ahead and calm some of the things that you're hearing about by talking about this because, like anything, the community needs to come down off the ledge and wait until this game is released, because what you're playing right now is not the game. It's not the build they're putting out there. If that was the case, you'd start a new character and you'd automatically make it to level 30. You need to understand that this is like the beta. It's not a real build. It's something to test. That's why they call it the public test server. So let's talk about loot in the 1.4 era and how the PTS is dropping them like raining manna from heaven. Let's talk about this because I think that people need to understand that this is very similar to a beta build. The loot won't be flowing freely like it is. The developers want you to get your hands on as much loot as possible because it is a time test. They don't have enough time to sit there for 3 months and let you sit there and gather loot over time the way it's normally going to be gathered. They need you to get your hands on as much as possible so that they can test out all the builds and all that stuff. Loot isn't going to be raining down. I don't understand why you guys can't understand that. This is not the way it's going to be. It's just a test server. This is a test server, not a build server. If it was a build server, they would be using your characters from the game and transfer them over and let you play like you've already progressed and see how this is. This is a test server and it needs to be treated like it was in the beta. You're not going to get these characters. Nobody's going to be able to play them later. You guys need to understand what this is that you're playing and what it is that you're seeing. I saw a picture of a guy who's like, this needs to be fixed, and he's like had 3 or 4 extractions within like 20 minutes and every single item was green or something, something really dumb like that, and he's like, please fix. It doesn't need to be fixed. They want you to get that loot right now so you can build your character, make some builds, and test those things out. They don't, the extraction portion of it isn't what they want you to test out. They want you to test out building gear, shooting people with it, testing out the gear stuff and the gear talents and stuff like that. Right now, they want to know how things are working, not how much loot is dropping. They don't care. They can adjust that like on the fly. It's all a percentage base. The loot needs to drop because they need to test the things, how they're like. When they put in, 30 or 40 hours, that's basically what you're seeing is, loot is dropping like a 30 or 40 hour gameplay video. You're getting loot in, that time span in a short amount of time because they want you to understand how loot is going to work in 1.4 patch era time. They want to know if you can make a build, and by keeping the loot tables tight, they can't do that. They can't test out all the builds if they're not giving you loot. So now let's go ahead and discuss the flip side of this. If this is true and the loot is going to drop like this, so what? Who's benefiting from massive loot drops? Everyone. Everyone's benefiting. It means you can play the game the way you want to play without having to do the same thing over and over again. No farming, no exploiting, just go in, get your loot, and be done. However, I doubt the drop rates are going to be that high. Massive isn't going to give you 50 mint green drops in the dark zone over the course of a few hours. That's not how this game works. It's never worked that way. They've never given away that much loot. Now, if you're really hard at even farming the 4 horsemen, you're not getting that much loot. So, okay. That's been done, and we're going to now cover a few things that are the most important, and starting off with the ammo capacity. And this is pretty much why removing the police backpack won't matter, is that the ammo capacity has been increased, and I've seen the numbers, and the irony of this is the ammo increase is pretty much the same exact amount is that you got when you were wearing the backpack and then you took it off. It's just, they've increased the max number of what you would get with the backpack. Now, to be clear, it's just the minimum base amount, so you could potentially get more via the Lone Star gear set, which is one of the only gear sets that hasn't been touched or nerfed or increased or whatever it is during this time. So in the PTS right now, there's no additional stuff for the Lone Star gear set. So let's go ahead. The ammo capacities have been increased for all players starting at level 30. So for assault rifles, you've been increased to 1,080 rounds from 540, which was the original max. The LMG now has 1,200 rounds instead of 600. The marksman rifle has been increased to 160 from 80 rounds. The shotgun has been increased to 192 from however many rounds, I don't know, like 90 I think it was. The SMG has been increased to 1,200 rounds from 600. Those are some massive changes, and basically what it is that's how much you got when you were wearing the backpack. So obviously Massive was looking, they saw how much you got from the backpack, and they said, let's just give them the amount that they got from the backpack. That's what's going to make the game easier. So now that's the major change that I can help you calm your fears about the police backpack being removed and giving you extra ammo. That's the great thing. Now you are going to be able to have all the ammo that you want, or at least whatever the ammo was. So you don't need the police backpack, and there's no talk about whether or not the Lone Star gear set is still working. I'll test that out in the PTS when it comes time and show you if it is working or not. That way you can go ahead and you understand and you get more ammo and whatever. Now, a few other changes, and we'll go over gear and skills tomorrow in tomorrow's video, but the other major changes I think is worth noting, and no one has, or I haven't seen anything in the PTS, and that is the formula for DPS calculations has changed. How? I have no clue, because there's no word as to what DPS looks like right now, and we haven't figured out what the formula is, but it is a welcome change, and I think we'll know what it is leading up to 1.4 being released, so that we will know what the changes are. If there's anything like my suggestions, it should be a much more simpler version with an accurate account of what your base damage is and how much, basically when you shoot a guy, that's how much your damage is. Another welcome change is leveling up and being able to get a loot cache every time you gain enough XP. Now you will not waste XP. We've been getting XP for a long time, and now we will actually be getting something for that XP. Once you gain XP and it rolls over, you get a loot cache, much like Destiny, where you would get a mode of light, and it would be nice to have them add in factions possibly and get faction items as you earn them for doing work for Paul, Faye, or Roy, very similar to like Vanguard, Crucible, and stuff like that. That would be a very cool addition, but to be truthful, we're past the time for suggestions, and right now we're just looking at getting these fixes in game and being able to see them and getting them into the main game. So that's been my time for now, and I want to thank you all for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more content on The Division as well as other games, please drop a like and consider subscribing to our channel. For all of us here at The Division Let's Talk, I'm Manny Carl, and we'll see you in the PTS. Agent out.